All righty, here we are today, and this is going on week 3 of my surgery recovery, and I'm feeling good. This is Deborah Colleen Rose. Crystal T will be joining us soon, we hope, because we started a little early because I've got PT coming, and we got Luann Morris, Herbal Lulu, and we are here today. We're talking again. Watch out at the Crystal Clear Point Studio. What are we talking about today, Luann?
Consciousness. I had something come up where they were saying, send out your consciousness. And so, I thought, okay, send out my consciousness. So consciousness is your awareness of yourself and the world around you. This awareness is subjective and unique to you.
Great. So what the hell does that mean?
So,
really, what does that mean? If I'm sending out my consciousness, so what?
Well, to connect with others in what I assumed was the collective consciousness, which is what we call it. So I guess it brought up, okay, why is he saying send out your consciousness instead of send out your energy, send out your thoughts, send out your, what is it? And so that's why I wanted to talk about it. What is consciousness?
So I think the word consciousness is not appropriate in these circumstances, because consciousness is what you're aware of, and then subconscious is what you know, but you're not aware that you know it. And then there's a lot of things that we just are not aware of that are still a part of ourselves. So consciousness is a very exclusive, direct energy process. To send out everything that's within us is sending out our energy. And the metaphor I like to use is that we have energy behind the walls of our house. That's called electricity. And it's just running rampant behind our walls through all these little conduits. And we don't know where they are exactly or whatever, or what the heck it's doing. And it's really pretty ineffective until we plug into it. So you have to get plugged into it, and you have to give it a positive and a negative to connect. And so yes, and I take issue with the consciousness.
And when you're living in the light, the dark seeks you out.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that when you're trying to deny the dark, who's in control, you or the dark?
Yes, who's in control?
And that was one of the best compliments I ever received from a mentor. They said, the great thing about you, Deborah, is that you don't deny a dark side. You own it. You take it out, you look at it, you play with it, and you take control of it, but it doesn't control you. That's someone who truly knows themselves. So
yeah, I know I have a dark side.
I actually like my dark side. My dark side has put me into a lot of safety positions that I might not have been able to maintain otherwise. The dark serves its purpose. That's why God gave us full range of emotions and being able to see all sides. And that's why we have free will. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I looked that up because, you always say things that provoke me to think, not to aggravate, but to think.
Yeah. That's my point, is for us to think about it.
Exactly. So the higher, we're over talking each other because I've got a glitch here. I've got a time glitch. Sorry. So I apologize because I seem to be interrupting you. The benefits I found for higher level of consciousness is that you have a bulletproof sense of inner peace, true happiness, no matter what the circumstances are in your life. So you're able to live with grace. You're feeling at one with everyone and everything. You're operating from your deep and powerful subconscious. You have unconditional love for all living beings. You're finding your true path and your true self. You have a worry, stress, and anxiety-free natural existence. You're thoroughly enjoying the present moment and your own thoughts. You have a meaningful life. There's deep healing of your mind, body, and spirit. You have a permanent higher shift into consciousness and understanding. So the higher your level of understanding, the better you're able to make choices, because it is about free will, remember? And having the ability and capacity to fundamentally change the world. So I thought those were kind of broad explanations.
Well, I can see myself in some of that, but I don't think I'm quite to that perfection yet.
I don't think we'll ever receive perfection. I just think this tells us that we're on the right path of improving our conditions and our minds and our awareness. And so the way that you can kind of gauge if you're moving in the right direction is that the signs are you're letting go of things that you once tightly held as a view or belief. You're zoning out for extended periods of time. I do that all the time. Hello? I look like Dame Edna when I make that face.
Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Sensitivity to negative people and events, especially the news. I can't watch the news much. It just drives me crazy. You have feelings of tingling and electrical like energy running through parts of your body. I thought that was orgasms.
It could be, but there are other times I feel that.
You have meaningful dreams. I just don't think I ever have a dream that's not meaningful. I don't always understand it, but it's always got something going on. You become aware of and seeing the meaning behind synchronicities, the seemingly unrelated events and signs that we experience and see. I think my whole life is just a Monopoly game of connection. I really do. If this hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened, and then this wouldn't happen. And God, I got this. Wasn't that great? Now this kind of sucked, but look what I got at the end.
And,
my whole life is.
So I think that if you
did you zone out?
I may have, but I'm just thinking that if you really consider, there have been times that I've been down and dark and in the bottom.
Oh yeah, been there.
But I do see today, I see, well, that's why I had to experience that, because then I had to change the way I felt or thought. I had to change my consciousness.
Yeah, because the people around you didn't change.
No.
Your acceptance and understanding of it changed.
Right. And this particular article is talking about the different kinds of consciousness. And it's talking about survival consciousness, relationship consciousness, self-esteem consciousness, and then expanding your concept of self-actualization. And I'm not much on studying the philosophies, but this certainly comes under that category of, self-actualization. What? So I think that that's what's happening for me, because I'm moving more into, this is me. This is the consciousness that I have, and this is why I'm developing my consciousness.
So with that said, the thought that hits me is that when you become more self-aware, it affects your whole life. So I always kind of get rebellious, I guess, or antagonistic or argumentative, all those wonderful qualities that I have, because you had a laundry list of different types of consciousness, and I just kind of want to say bullshit. It's just consciousness, and the consciousness affects all arenas of your life. So yeah, you're going to see your relationships in a different light, and you're going to see your businesses in a different light, and you're going to see yourself in a different light. And then when you do that, then that's going to affect the way you relate to everything else. And even food, even drink, and when you eat and why you drink, all those things, the way you breathe, it affects all those things. It affects your health. So it always seems to me, when I'm reading a lot of these self-help things and watching these videos and stuff like that, it seems like they put the cart in front of the wagon train and expect the mule behind the wagon train to push that fucking cart forward.
Yeah, maybe so. But this one says that consciousness is awareness of internal and external existence.
And again, I'm like, how do you separate the two? Because my internal, my external. By external only affects my internal if I decide to let it.
But that's why you have to know what's external to you and what's internal to you.
Oh, good, because that's going to take us into the other sheet that I printed up, which is
good.
Biases. We all have biases. We have conscious biases and subconscious biases. And those are the predetermined ideas that we have and how we make decisions on that. And that's where a lot of things, negative things like racism, sexism, things like that come from. So, you know, biases are based upon our training and also our experiences and the lessons that we learned, you know, and that's why we have all these modalities where people talk about hypnosis and muscle testing and all this stuff, because we know a lot of that is lodged in our body because our bodily senses is what lodged it into our brain. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So by paying attention to your thoughts and examining your beliefs, you're actually identifying the assumptions. Like one of the examples I read is this, like, I'm not racist because I don't see your color. Well, that's a bias, because by saying you don't see the color, you're denying who that person is and their ethnicity and the lessons that come with that ethnicity and their history and their cultural experiences and their cultural beliefs and all the things that came from their future their past generations. So you need to see color. What you're trying to eliminate is having a negative action or reaction based upon a preconceived idea based upon sex, color, something of that nature.
Right. And I there were so many times that people would say something about someone else's color, and I said, hey, we are all the same color on the inside. I said, have you ever been in an operating room and the patient's all covered up, everything, and all you see is an open abdomen? You don't know if that person's black or white.
No.
Gray, brown.
You have to wonder, though, going back in history, where did the first original racism come from? And I think that some of that is stated in the Bible because of the different tribes reacting to each other. Surely it seems like those tribes, it wasn't just a religious thing, even though it deals with religion in the Bible. I'm sure that because of where they lived, because some lived in more arid areas than others, and desert areas and grass areas, that had to do something with how they developed and the color of their skin and their hair and stuff. So,
well, think about the Vikings and how they were just warring. They wanted more land, more stuff, more this, more that, because they were warriors. But it didn't matter to them what color you were. If you weren't Viking, then you weren't anything.
Exactly. Kind of sounds like
so yeah.
It sounds like some other things we've heard through history, like in Germany and in the United States and stuff. So again, that goes back to what we're taught, not what we're born with, what we're taught.
Exactly.
And I think when people say that they want to get into their consciousness, their higher consciousness, what they're essentially saying is, I want to go back and be who I was before I was brainwashed.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
You know, who was I? Because, we see videos all the time of little babies, 1 and 2 years old, playing together peacefully, happily. And the only time they fight is when somebody has food and they're hungry, which is a natural instinct of survival, or if one has a toy and the other one wants it, which is just ego. So we're basically survival and ego at that time.
I know that I was told growing up, because my mother wanted a perfect world for me, I guess. Oh, you're going to grow up and meet some nice young man at college, get married, and have a wonderful family. Well, I bought into it because I believed her, because she was the person I looked up to.
But you could have done that. She didn't define what a wonderful man was, though. You didn't have enough information.
No, but it was like, for her, every man who wanted that scenario, a family, was a wonderful man. I mean, to me, that's what she was saying as a child. It was kind of like, you're a princess and the prince is going to come.
Okay,
know.
so I've been thinking about that because you said that to me a couple of times.
Yeah.
And we all know I've been married more than once. And so I was told by my stepfather especially that no man would ever want to marry me because I was a loudmouth bitch, pretty much is what he said. And not quite that way, but that's what he was saying. And, I wasn't domestic. I didn't like house cleaning. I didn't like cooking. I didn't like all that stuff. I wanted to do what the boys were doing and things like that. And I got to thinking, I wonder if I was programmed and didn't realize it to prove that I was marriable, because I did it so many damn times, because I don't remember consciously wanting to ever be married. I didn't dream of getting married as a child. I didn't plan my wedding. I didn't think about a white wedding dress. Now, the irony of that is that I didn't want 12 kids, but I didn't want a husband. Seriously. I didn't buy into the Barbie thing. I didn't buy into the wedding dress thing. I didn't buy into the princess thing. I couldn't think of anything more horrible than having that kind of lifestyle. Seriously.
Well, I think that I was raised on Disney. I think that that's where I get my Pollyanna outlook a lot of times. And I'm trying to change that to be more realistic instead of Pollyanna.
So instead of Pollyanna, that's shift you into like, I'm a witch with a broom and I'm going to hit you with it. And then maybe after you do that a little while, you can kind of shift into the middle.
Maybe so. But I guess as I got older, I didn't really tolerate anyone that didn't have an intelligence level that I did. Or more, shall I say.
Oh my God. Then my attitude would have been, I didn't talk to anybody for years. Because I knew I was the smartest person I knew for a long time. Now, I'm not being arrogant. I'm really not. You have to remember, people, I grew up in a semi-rural mentality town and was surrounded by semi-rural mentality people that, I guess, for lack of a better word, they were like the pre-generation of Trumpers, So that's not who I was. I was always like, I read all the books in the school library, in our small school and stuff. And, they tried to move me ahead 2 grades. So I'm really not bragging here. I really was a more intelligent person than average. And I remember as a child sitting around listening, because I always was real quiet. I know it's hard to believe. And I would sit and listen to the adults thinking, I'm like, these people are stupid. What is wrong with what in the hell are they talking about? They're stupid or they're crazy. I don't know which.
Well, I think that awareness of self is something I have worked on as an adult, not as a young adult, as an older adult.
Right. Well, I think that's true of most people. I think I digressed as I got older. I think I really knew who I was up until my mid to late 20s. And then I had so many horrific traumas in my life that I just lived in survival mode for a long time. I needed to survive and take care of my kids. And that's all
I started out in survival mode as a young adult.
Right.
At 21 years old. That I started in survival mode. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There wasn't anyone to guide that survival mode. There wasn't anyone that would step up and say, even my grandmother, which was a shock, who should have said, you're going through something and, this is what it is. And do you want to talk about it? Because I don't know. It was kind of like letting out a bull at the rodeo. I just,
Yeah, I don't recall anyone really noticing that I was struggling for many years,
Maybe they didn't realize it because I did smile a lot. And underneath, I was like, I'd rather die.
Yeah. But see, again, in my estimation, if you're truly conscious and you're not sending out energy, but you're truly in your consciousness, you are aware of the energy around you. And if you're aware of the energy around you, I think this is one of the reasons why I when I meet people, I know if they have a mental health issue. I know what their sexuality is the most time. I'm a little confused now with the non-binary stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to go there because I'm not dating and I'm not having sex with them, so I don't care. But for the most part, I used to do that. You can get in tune with their vibrational level and figure that out better. But so I digressed, and then I got out of survival mode and got back on track. And then I felt like it was my duty. I really did feel like it was my duty to share what I had learned with other people. And now I don't want to do that anymore. I, I just want to live in my zone and live out of my body as much as I can while taking care of my body, and just stay in connection with God as much as possible and commune with him. I know that sounds, I don't know, it sounds stupid. It sounds sanctimonious. It sounds unrealistic.
Well, I think those of us who have been raised in religion and no longer participate in organized religion, we still believe in God, and we still believe that's our focus for our spirituality.
I never stopped, no matter what was going on. And it's really strange, no matter how bad I was and how bad my decisions were, I never felt like I was not connected to God. I'd just be like, God, if you don't want me doing this, give me something to work with. I feel helpless, And
yeah, my disconnect was with the church, and how it's funny when everything's happy and you're in a good place, it seems like the church is really easy and eager to connect with you. And when I say the church, I mean the people inside.
The steeple, open the door and here are the people.
But I did not feel that they tried to reach out to me when I'm 21 years old, floundering and wondering what's next.
But here's why. I finally figured it out.
Okay.
I always knew this, I think, but it finally just clicked for me. They can't do any better because that's not where they are in their journey. They're not there yet. And I think that there are a group of people, I think I'm included in that group, I think you're included in that group, some other people I know, that are further along in our own awareness, consciousness, development, whatever the fuck you want to call it, okay? And that we expect things out of people they're not capable of, because we know that we're capable of it, and we don't see ourselves as being any different from other people. But we are. We absolutely are. And that's why it makes it hard for us sometimes to connect. That's why we get disappointed in our relationships. And so I've said, it's really funny. Again, subconsciously, I have known things better than I did consciously, and it's taken a long time for my consciousness to get caught up. I have said for years, I trust everybody, meaning I trust them to be who they are. So if I know they're a bank robber, I know they're going to rob a bank. So I'm not surprised if we stop at a bank. I know to get out of the car and leave because they're about to rob the bank. Okay. So, if I don't remove myself, that's my fault. And so now I'm back at a place where I really do and aware of that. I trust them to be who they are, and I either accept that or I remove myself from it.
Right.
That's the bottom line. Here's Crystal. How are we doing on time? Because I got PT coming.
1:53.
Yeah, we're going to have to, we got about 10, 15 minutes left, and then we're going to have to go. Where have you been?
Can't hear you, baby.
You're muted. She's on the phone. She went bye-bye.
Oh.
Hello, I'm sorry I'm late.
Well, we started without you, and we got about 15
I'm very,
minutes.
very sorry.
That's okay.
I got a business phone call, and it ended up lasting for almost 2 hours. And
Oh, God.
anyway, so where are we at in the whole achieving consciousness debates?
We haven't debated. We've been pretty much in agreement, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
you
Okay.
tell her.
It's about, there was a meditation that I was involved in that said, send out your consciousness. And
Mhm.
that's what brought up the whole question. Well, how do I send out my consciousness? What
Mhm.
does that mean? And we kind
Oh,
of agreed that it was not the consciousness we're sending out. It's our energy that we're sending out.
mm, okay, I'm with you there. It is indeed our energy. However, I'm gonna kind of segue or piggyback on that if I can. Because this, when you start talking about in a meditation or a dream and you're sending out your consciousness, there, I think when we're talking about that, we're talking about our actual cognizant consciousness, like being able to actually interact with the environment. So like, I'll give you an example. When I'm doing a meditation, like the heel, like the Sun Temple and Pearl meditation, and it says, okay, you're gonna go here. Well, that consciousness in your mind has to go there. Even though some people say, oh, this is just all happening in my head. For me, yes, there's that. I feel that connection to my body and I'm here, but my consciousness, my thought is going there. It is going to the bottom of the ocean. It is shrinking down to the size of a whatever. And I'm able to walk around the pearl and I'm able to see the door and walk in the door. And I feel the 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 vibrations or the echoing of the chambers as I walk through, things like that. So it translates to me to physical sensation in my existing body, but my mind or my consciousness, my thought process is elsewhere. Does that make sense? So,
Mhm.
but you have to have the energy, you have to send your energy there, but that energy is directed by the brain patterns. Does that make sense at
Yes,
all?
and that's
Yeah, but here's where I kind of disagree with you. And I'm not saying that that's not possible because I've experienced it. It is possible. But I think for a full, complete consciousness, you're going to integrate mind, body, and spirit and the realities of those, because otherwise you are still generating energy and you're simulating what you would feel physically. And
Yeah.
that's very powerful, very, very powerful. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
NLP is based upon that strategy
Yeah.
completely, but it is much more powerful to be there physically and experience all that and integrate your mind, body, and spirit, your subconscious and your consciousness into it all at one time. Because how many times have you been someplace physically and you're zoned out consciously? You're
Oh, yeah.
there physically. That's another form of energy, but you're
Mhm.
still not getting the full benefit of it. So I
Right.
do
Yeah.
think that,
Okay, so if you're talking about consciousness and being physically present in a space, that's a whole other thing, I think, than what it was presented to me. I thought we were talking about meditation and sending our consciousness elsewhere is what I thought. So my
well,
apologies.
that was where it originated.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what for the her
That's where it
experience.
originated. But
See, I don't even meditate like that. So see, I'm out of the whole realm of this. When you say the word meditate, that's not what meditation is for me. And I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of checked out of the conversation at that point because that's not even how I meditate.
Yeah.
Meditate for me is about leaving my body and going to a higher dimension, not going anywhere in the physical realm, not going anywhere in the sub-physical realm, but going to a higher dimension. And that's what I do when I meditate. So
Yeah. And I think that's the goal of a lot of people is to elevate their consciousness to another realm. And again though, but how do you get your consciousness up to that realm? How do you send your consciousness there? Right. So I guess like really what was the original question though, was how to develop consciousness?
well, what does it mean when you're sending your consciousness out?
Okay.
And therefore, what even is consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
Is because that's what came up in my mind. You want me to send out my consciousness. So I'm thinking you want to send me to send out my thought because that's a part of my conscious
If I was calling on aliens, the first thing I'd be sending out in my conscious energy would be like, "Ooh, alien sex. I bet that's cool."
She would.
I know.
Okay, so did we?
So that's where it all started evolving. And
Okay.
so this says, you know, nowadays what we do is we have private thoughts, imagination, volition,
Mhm.
and we're
Yeah.
experiencing the kind of cognition, experience, feeling, or perception. It's an
Okay.
awareness or self-awareness.
Yeah. So that's is that so I guess that's a definition of some sort what you were looking
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah.
So I just Googled, the Oxford Language Dictionary consciousness, and it just says it's a noun. It is the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. She failed to regain consciousness and died 2 days later, kind of thing. Or the awareness of perception of something by a person, plural noun consciousnesses, her acute consciousness of Mike's presence, kind of thing. And then there's also this definition, the fact of awareness by the mind of itself and the world. Example, consciousness emerges from the operations of the brain. So I think if we look at that bare bones definition, that it is an awareness of oneself, of one's surroundings, but that it can also be sent elsewhere to perceive and be aware on other planes of existence, whether an inner realm or an outer realm.
And I think that's what the man that was talking about contacting aliens, he was talking about us sending out our consciousness to say we're we have thoughts, and our thought is sending out energy.
That's true.
To say we're here and we are very interested in you and what you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's a point though. Okay, so just going totally out in left field. Go with me here. Okay, so
put your seatbelt on the way, and here we go.
Yeah, here we go. It's a bumpy ride. So while I've been recovering from my surgery, I have been binging True Blood. Okay.
Okay.
Now, binging what?
Binging True Blood. So Sookie Stackhouse
show.
Is a telepath, so she can read people's actual thoughts. So while we're sending out our consciousness, we may be thinking, oh, we want to see aliens. This is wonderful. You're welcome. Come here and come in peace. But if they're truly able to tap into our consciousness, our awareness, our energy, our thoughts, they're going to be getting the dirty nitty gritty shit as well, because they're just not going to get the buttercream frosting that we're sending them. They're getting that gooey cake center as well. And God knows what they're getting. And maybe that's why they don't come here, because they know what we're really thinking.
Well, and Stephen Greer, who does this, Dr. Stephen Greer, excuse me, that's what he says, that if you feel any sort of fear as they are approaching the area, they will actually back off and leave. And how many of us can't say we're excited to interact, but once it's obvious that we're going to be able to interact, don't we have some fear?
Not me. Well, those are my people.
Deal, though. I think that's a very limiting. I think that's somebody placing a limitation on another species about which they know nothing.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what he's saying, that we don't want to send out any negativity.
But here's the deal, though. Negativity, when well placed and well directed, can be channeled into something good. So I'm not saying be negative, whatever, but here's the deal. Getting back to the whole point, thought patterns in our brains are literally electrical signals. They're energy. It's electrical signals. However, those thought forms typically don't manifest on either the astral or the physical planes unless or until they are spoken into existence or written down and placed into existence. You know, that thought think of the thought like the seed. The seed is kind of useless until you plant it and do something with it, right?
Right.
And then even then, there's no guarantee It's either going to go wild or it's going to go fallow and not grow, or you're going to tend it and it's going to grow. So you've got those kind of three options. When it comes to like aliens, honey, the aliens are already here. The aliens have already been here. I think it's been well documented throughout human history that the aliens are here. The
Yes.
Native Americans have stories and legends about it.
Yes.
The Egyptians, the
Yes.
Aztecs, the Mayans, the Asian, the Hindus, they all have stories. The entire Sumerian history is based off of aliens coming to Earth and genetically modifying human beings from apes, you know. So the fact that aliens have been to Earth has been well documented over thousands and thousands of years.
But what if
So-
they're not aliens? What if they're truly angels? That's the other debate I love to talk about. What if
Mhm.
what we call aliens were really angels?
Well, my
And if you go
grandfather
look
was a Southern Baptist minister, and he told me aliens were talked about in the Bible, and he read the descriptions of the aliens, and really it was what he was reading was the descriptions of the angels and the cherubims and the chariots with the winged chariots that came down and all of that other good stuff. But here's the deal. So angels, aliens, tomato, a rose by any other name is, but
Well,
still
my
a
point,
rose.
well, I had a point to make with that though. So if they're
Mm-hmm.
angels and not aliens, angels already know what we're thinking. Boom. They already know what's going on,
Allegedly.
you know? So
Allegedly.
you don't have
Well,
to send
I think what he's trying to do is bring the occurrence to a group of people that
Mhm.
that can then say, yes, we have experienced the aliens coming to visit us. And there's nothing I don't want to say bad
Yeah.
about them, but there's
Aliens visiting you until you've actually had little pieces of fiber optic being pushed out of your skin, the way myself and an entire group of people that we knew that were sending those types of energies up, literally every last one of us to a T woke up with, over the course of a few weeks time frame, with memories, feelings, impressions, and we all had these little swellings under the skin, and for some of us it went away, and for some of us like me, I literally over the course of like the next month or two, I had these random, actually next year or two, I would have these random little pieces of hard, look like fiber optic, that would be pushed out of my skin at various different places in my body. So, you know, for me, I felt like, okay, I was visited by aliens and they put something in me to test me out and see what's going on, and my body rejected it for whatever reason, you know. So like I said, I personally, there's just too much anecdotal evidence, first person case histories and remembrances and stuff like that out there. Now with the advent of you know, Congress actually holding sessions where they're saying, okay, these are the official documents, the official statements of people who've been there, seen that, done that, you know, I'm just like, okay, so you're now saying they're real, whereas for the last 100 years you've been saying, oh, you're making it up, you're crazy, you know. There's no
yes, but
such thing.
they're saying that they're a threat.
Well, you got to remember, that's how the government does it, though. The government does everything as a threat. If it's not something we can control, then it's a threat. If it's something, you know, that's just the way it is, you know. But my thing is this: if alien civilizations were indeed a threat, I figure anybody that can actually cross hundreds and thousands of light years to get here, there's absolutely nothing on this planet we can do to stop them. So
Yeah,
if they were going to
Yeah,
be a
there is.
threat,
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
been a
We'll just
threat.
do like Texas has done, and we'll get some big buoys with chain link and and all kinds of fencing on it, and we'll just
And-
put it on a big rocket, and we'll send it up in space, and we'll wrap us up in that, and that'll take care of everything, you know. But
yeah.
with that facetious note, though, I've got PT coming here in a minute, so we're gonna have to wrap it up.
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to talk more about aliens next week. Maybe that's what we need to talk about, because I've got some
Aliens
ideas
are a
too.
fun topic. Like seriously, I love alien topics, alien folklore, almost as, but like I said, it's surprising to me that when you look at most what they would consider civilized cultures throughout the ages, they you know, Egypt, Atlantis, things like that. It's just, they all talk about those visitors from the ancients, from across the stellar, the galaxy. I mean, if you
Well, and a
look
lot of
at,
people think that mythology is based upon aliens as well. So, there's so many different possibilities with that. But
Well,
I do. My physical therapist is almost at the door. So, Crystal, tell them how to find you.
I can be found at www.barudispa.com, on Facebook at facebook.com/barudispa, or on Instagram at barudi_spa. And I just started a TikTok, but I can't tell you the name of it because I haven't figured it out yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Luann, tell them how to find you.
herbal-lou.com. I'm also on Facebook, Herbal Lou 1105. And you can email me at herballou1105@gmail.com.
Very good. And I'm not having a hot flash. It's just hot in my office right now because I'm in the back of the house and it's 110 degrees out there. So this is Deborah Colleen Rose, milesofsmilesevents.com for your entertainment, inspired, intuitive entertainment. And our new website will be up this week. And if you need investigations, it's ISGU for Investigative Solutions Group Unlimited. And if you would like a free assessment and consultation and investigation of your house for paranormal activity, go to dfwparanormalinvestigations.com and we will come to your house or home or your office for free. We would love to do that. So until next week, you guys, we will see y'all later.
Bye now.
Bye.